Welcome back to the Rich Nonprofit. This is straight talk for mission-driven leaders. I had coffee with a client last week. She is a successful entrepreneur, 7 figures in her business. She writes checks to nonprofits each year. And she looked at me and she said, I feel like a terrible person saying this out loud, but I hate going to galas. And I laughed because she's not terrible. She's honest. She told me about the last one that she attended. She spent, I think, $500 on a ticket, sat through this long dinner where they talked about impact, but for too long. And then they spent hours on the auction items and the wine. And she was doing the math on the drive home. And the venue alone cost more than some of the programs, she figured. And the worst part, she sat there, she smiled, she bid on things that she didn't necessarily want. She pretended that it was a meaningful evening. And, I'm sure it was for some people. And she wrote a check because that's what you're supposed to do. And I just feel like this needs to be talked about because the things that successful women think but never say out loud are what all of us are thinking. When you're thinking about philanthropy, impact, legacy, and it feels too bold or too honest to share, that's exactly what you need to share because that's how we change the narrative and the landscape of the nonprofit world. Like wanting your name on something, not anonymous giving, but visible, recognized leadership. We've been taught that's ego, and I will say, I don't think males feel that way. But what if it's more about accountability? When your name is attached, you're going to make damn sure that it succeeds. But when your name is attached, you're going to make damn sure it succeeds. Or wanting to build something from scratch instead of supporting what already exists and probably isn't working. We are told it's wasteful because good organizations already exist. Why don't you help them? But what if those organizations aren't doing what you know needs to be done to keep them afloat or to actually help people? Or being completely frustrated that every nonprofit runs like it's 1985. Now, that's an exaggeration, but there is a lot of that going on. Same fundraising tactics, same board structure, same events, same everything. And you, in your business, you've revolutionized industries. You've scaled your company. You've built systems that work and are repeatable. But you're supposed to now sit quietly in board meetings while people debate for 2 hours about spending $5,000. Successful women have been taught to give quietly, support humbly, and not rock the boat in the nonprofit world. But you didn't build your success by being quiet and humble. You built it by seeing what wasn't working, and you fixed it with a new way. So why are we checking all of that expertise and boldness at the door when it comes to creating social change? Because what we're really thinking is that a gala, it can be a waste of time and money. The cost to attend could fund programs. The time spent planning them could be used for strategy. But we keep showing up, buying tables, wearing fancy gowns, and pretending it's impact. And now I have clients who put on successful galas, but they think of it differently. They involve their community. It's not about just getting all those big spenders in there. I mean, it is. You're a nonprofit, let's be real. But it's also about creating impact by bringing in your community, knowing what they want, involving them in the process, and making it fun, not just a stuffy dinner where you get to pick chicken steak or I don't even know if they have something vegetarian. So I know women who give to a bunch of different organizations, 5,000 here, 10,000 here, and it's generous, very generous, and it looks good. Maybe they put your name on their website. But when I ask them what changed because of their giving, they can't really tell me. They're funding operations, but not necessarily transformation that they're aware of. Maybe they're just keeping the lights on operations, which is super important, but are they solving true problems with those checks? And as I've seen, most nonprofit boards are where good ideas go to die. You've got very successful people sitting around a table or on a Zoom, but instead of leveraging their expertise, they're going over the minutes, they're approving budgets, and talking about things that could just be moved through via an email. When you are building multi-million-dollar nonprofits and you are giving big money to people, you don't have time to be debating tablecloths with your board members. That's why you need to choose wisely. Also, the grant application process. You're spending 40 hours to maybe get $10,000. You wouldn't accept that ROI in your business. But nonprofits are supposed to be grateful for the opportunity to compete for crumbs. And if you're a successful woman who wants to start something new, that guilt can be real. Why aren't you just supporting existing organizations? Probably because you see a completely different solution. And once you get all your ducks in a row, you will know how to do it better, faster, and more efficiently. But we don't say these things. We still show up. We play along. And if you're already running a nonprofit, you've got your own version because you're exhausted from pretending that these tiny grants are game changers. $5,000 doesn't change anything. Let's be real. It might keep your lights on for a month or maybe take care of one payroll cycle. But you write thank you notes and you post about it on social media. And it is wonderful that people are helping you, especially right now when things are tough. And you're feeling that if you don't feel grateful enough, they might not give again next year. But your biggest donor could also be your biggest problem. If they don't understand the way that you want to move the nonprofit forward and change it, and they may want to control everything with their suggestions, which are maybe low-key demands, you can't afford to lose them though. So you're going to pretend that their ideas are brilliant. You're going to smile. You're going to listen. And you're going to spend more time managing them than serving your community. So you may look at your friends in corporate and wonder, what are you doing with your life? They're making 3 times more than your salary for half the stress. They're getting bonuses, taking vacations, contributing to retirement accounts, and you're using your personal credit card to cover expenses because you're waiting on that grant reimbursement that hasn't come through yet. But you're supposed to be fulfilled by the mission, as if purpose pays the rent. And I've talked about this before. Nope, you need that money to keep your nonprofit going. But again, when you try and talk about this, people act like, well, maybe you're not committed enough, or you should be happy about this sacrifice because you're helping people. The system, I'll say it again and again, isn't working. Nonprofits are stuck in scarcity, afraid to invest in infrastructure, afraid to pay competitive salaries. And donors are stuck in confusion, writing random checks, joining ineffective boards, and attending sometimes pointless events because nobody has shown them a better way to create impact. One quick thing before we keep going. You didn't build your business just to make money. So let's talk about what comes next. The impact, the legacy, the way you want to show up publicly around the cause you care about. On April 29th, in downtown San Luis Obispo in California, I'm hosting my Audacious Purpose event. One day in person with other female entrepreneurs to map how to build impact into your business, whether that's launching your nonprofit or foundation, creating a giving strategy, or figuring out what you want to be known for beyond just your revenue. I'm keeping it intimate so that we can do the big vision work. The link is in the show notes. I'm super excited. I hope you'll join us. All right, now back to the show. So what if we stopped being polite? What if we started being more strategic? If you're a successful woman with resources, maybe you're thinking, I am finished with this scattered giving. I want to solve one problem completely. Or I'm not joining another board unless I can influence the strategy, not just sit there and listen to BS. Or maybe you're thinking you want to build something new because you know you have a solution that nobody else has thought of yet. Or maybe you want your name on it because you want credit for the change that you are about to create. Now, I know that some of you don't want to reform the system. You want to rebuild it entirely. You want to create funding models that make sense. You want to prove that efficiency and impact, they don't have to be opposite. And you want to show that business principles can amplify mission, not compromise it. And I'm watching this in real time. I am watching successful women who have built businesses and are looking at the nonprofit sector now and saying, we can do this better. They are creating nonprofits with sustainable revenue streams instead of chasing grants. They're building boards with expertise, not just people who are writing checks. And they are paying themselves and their teams fairly. I had a client start a foundation this year, and she was terrified to say she wanted her name on it. She thought people would judge her. But we talked about it, and she realized with her name attached, she shows up differently. She holds herself accountable. She's going to make sure it succeeds. Now, I know when you think about starting this, you don't want to write more grant applications. You want to create sustainable revenue streams. You don't want to just throw one gala per year. You want to build genuine partnerships. And I know you don't want to beg for donations because you're really good at presenting investment opportunities. And this isn't about making nonprofits more like businesses. It's about taking what works from both worlds and creating something better. Now, are you brave enough to say what you really think, to build what you really want, to stop playing by rules that don't work? I know you're brave because you are already successful and everyone's thinking it. In every board meeting where nothing happens, in every gala where money is thrown around, in every application for pennies, everyone knows. We're just waiting for someone to say it first, to be the one who says, this isn't working. Let's build something better. And that someone can be you. So this week, I encourage you to identify one truth that you've been holding back. Maybe it's about the organization you're running and how you want to do it differently. Maybe it's about the nonprofit that you want to build so that you can create impact into your business plan. Write it all down, all of it, the honest, unfiltered, potentially uncomfortable truths. If you're out there giving donations, that's so great. But what is the one thing that you want to solve? The problem that makes you angry, that keeps you up at night? And if you're already running a nonprofit, write down what you need, not what you think you can get, but what you need to create change in 2026. The real number, the real structure, the real support. And then think about one action you can take based on that truth, one conversation you could have, one decision, one change you can make before the new year. We don't have to burn everything down here to start building what you know is going to work. Because the problems that we are solving deserve better than what's happening right now. The communities deserve better. You deserve better. Better than not creating that change. Better than systems that don't work. That impact you want to create and the legacy you want to leave, it starts with radical honesty about what's not working, what you really want, and what you are willing to do differently starting now. We need disruption. We need innovation. We need brave leaders who are going to say what everyone's thinking and then go out and build it. And that can be you, and I am here to help you, and I am so ready for it. I will see you next time on The Rich Nonprofit.